foods, particularly that they were getting when they were on land, have pretty low caloric content, and the bears have to expend energy to obtain them. So out on the sea ice, they're primarily a sit and wait predator, and they're eating primarily the fat of seals, which has twice the calories of protein and carbohydrates, which is what they are primarily getting when they're on land. Similarly, when they were swimming out into the bay and encountering carcasses, we found that it was difficult for them to eat those carcasses while they were swimming. And they're getting a single carcass over a 3-week period versus catching seals every few days out on the sea ice. So it's just a big difference in the availability and quality of the food resources they can get when they're on land.
All of the bears we studied that we tracked in the study were in relatively good condition. There are no bears that we consider to be in poor condition, with the caveat being that the time period that we conducted this study was basically right in the middle of the time that they're on land. So as I mentioned, they typically come on land around late July, early August. We did this work in late August to early September. And so they still have another 70 so days on land where they will be continuing to lose mass.
I think our study confirms kind of previous evidence that they're not very adaptable to spending time on land, that there's going to have to be other changes that would have to occur. They're going to help them withstand, spending longer times on land.
One of the things that was really appealing to me was the fact that it's a very elegant study in that they combine many different techniques to study a question about what is happening in this population relative to the increasing length of the ice-free period. So for me, I think it's a combination of sort of physiology, behavior, and looking at the movements of the animals. And of course, the video coloring is very nice sort of addition. So it gives you a better complete picture of what the animals are doing in that environment. The one thing that would have been very nice to see would have been mothers with cubs included in the study. Partly because some of the research in my group is indicating that that is a very vulnerable link in the population. And so our concern is that once mothers with cubs lose their body condition to a certain point, they stop producing milk. And all of a sudden at that point, the cubs now have to rely on their own fat reserves. And cubs in their first year in particular are growing rapidly, have very little stored fat of their own. And we think that this is probably one of the major weaknesses in the population ecology of the bears. And so if the mother doesn't get them back out on the ice and feeding on seals shortly after she stops nursing, we've seen this in Western Hudson Bay, where the cubs actually starve to death on land. And so that point might have been nice to have included, but it also adds another level of complexity. And then you get into ethical issues of handling mothers with small cubs. And because you have to handle them more than once, it does present some animal care challenges for sure.